stream. And we are going. Oh, what is that? Oh my goodness. I think I forgot to set it up. Sorry, it will take me a few seconds.
No worries. Take your time.
Yeah, that's my bad. Just a second. And okay, we are going live. And now what I need from you when it's going live, just to make sure that we are actually live on LinkedIn. Does it work?
Let me check. Well, the event says I'm gonna join again because it was not online. It's live now. Yes.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Okay, we are live. So hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. Super excited. Hi, Preet. Excited to be here with you again. And
yes.
Let's get
Hello,
started.
everyone.
Yeah. So for those who don't know us, we'll start with a quick intro. And we are going to talk today on a topic that I think is very much needed, especially for women. It's about how to negotiate your next job offer. So, hi everyone, I'm Limor, and I coach women in tech leadership. But my experience is actually tech leadership. So I was a software engineer and a director of engineering, and my passion is really supporting women in the tech industry. And that's what I'm doing for the last 3 years. I'm coaching women in tech leadership and hoping to help you today with this live stream. So hi, Preet, how are you today?
Hello, I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. I was telling Limor how proud of her I am, how happy I am that this space is and that people like Limor exist and that they're so willing to share these tools that we need so much in these times, that we're all navigating and that we're all figuring out what's the next step, what's the next step for the industry, what's the next step for our own careers, and who to connect to. So definitely this is a safe space where you can just like hang out, be a part of the conversation and connect. That's the word I was looking for. Connect to this knowledge that Limor is willing to share with us. My name is Preet. I am a product manager. I've been a product manager for the past 2 years now. My story is very interesting because I made a very important transition in my career, and that might interest some of you that are listening. Maybe you're thinking about it. Maybe you have been in the same space of transitioning from one industry to another. And, just having people like Limor in your radar is really important. And just to add to that about my profile, I've been a community builder and founder myself. I've built these spaces for women to connect and have the tools that we need to navigate these crazy times. And they're very fun times as well. It depends on how you're looking at it and how is it for you. But definitely, I think we are all here today to share and to learn more and to understand what kind of tools we can integrate to our own path. So thank you, Limor, for the invitation. It's really cool to be here, and let's get let's get the show
Yeah,
on the
let's get
road.
to it. And thank you so much, Preet. And just for those of you who don't know us, Preet and myself know each other from working together at Power to Fly, and Preet is an incredible product manager. So definitely, if you look for a product manager, she is the right one for you. So let me see if I'm sharing. I don't know if I'm sharing the right.
Yes,
Okay.
I can
All
see your
right.
slides. They look awesome.
Yes. So we're not going to have a lot of slides. I'll just share some basics and we can discuss it. And Preet, I'm happy to hear from you as well, and from the audience if you have any comments. So as I said, we're talking today about how to negotiate your next tech job career. And this is a little bit about me, but I already told you about me, so no need to repeat that. And we'll just dive in. So, Preet, you probably know that, right? As a product manager, before you work on any roadmap for a product, you do a research, right? So I would say that before you even think about the negotiation phase, you need to do a research to know what
sure.
you're worth.
To know what's out there,
Yeah.
what options do you have, and how is it that people are looking at the value of the skills that you can bring to the table, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely you don't need to shoot in the dark, right? I mean, especially people who are making a transition, or maybe that's their first position and they may not know how much they should be earning. It's really
sure.
important. When I moved to the US at the end of 2010, I didn't know how much, I knew the salaries in Israel. I didn't know what are the salaries in the US, and not just in the US, specifically in Denver, where I used to live. So it's really important to know what are the salaries, and also more specifically in your areas. I gave you a few resources here, just caveat. I don't know how accurate they are. They can give you a ballpark, but some of them are kind of, they rely on people to reveal their salaries. And depending if people are actually giving the accurate numbers or just making something up, so accuracy may vary. But I actually did a search on all of them. I did, I think, a product manager in Denver, and all of them pretty much came very, very similar numbers. So there is at least some consistency between them, just a few to help you. I don't know, Preet, are you aware of any other tools that maybe I didn't mention here?
I'm going to share in a bit in the comments, because I know a great data engineer who just launched a product, because this is, there's so much data out there now. The times we're living in and how we might understand how the job market is changing constantly. We need to look at the data, right? And this is the value behind this kinds of websites, these kinds of products, that they're gathering data all the time, and it's real-time data, right? Because you mentioned, I moved to the US, maybe you were in the same job for a long time and you had a salary standard that has now changed and you're not aware of it, right? So I think it's really cool, this proposition that you make about these websites, because it's real-time data. People are always putting in this information so that the same product can analyze this data and show us what's the tendency. So I will share one from this person that I just mentioned, but I think these are really on point and it's a very good place to start.
Yeah, and by the way, I also noticed that LinkedIn used to have a tool called the, LinkedIn Salaries. They stopped this tool, but I noticed that some positions actually publish the salary or the salary range. So you can even look at LinkedIn and look at different positions and how much they offer.
Yes, and
have you seen that, Preet?
I haven't seen this tool that you mentioned from LinkedIn. It's really interesting, but I do think that now in the US, there is a new law. I can't remember the name for this law, but I do believe that now companies in the US are required to release this information, that whenever they post a job opening by law, they should be very specific about the salary that they're offering.
Okay, so maybe that's why. So if that's true and the salaries that they publish are accurate, so I would say just go to LinkedIn and look at different positions and see what the salary range. So this is just the first step. And the next one I want to talk about is know your worth. And this is not about like a generic range, right? Because range may vary and each person is different, and it's not like one size fits all. But really know how much you're worth. And I kind of listed here different perspectives to look into. So first of all, I recommend, when you're job searching, do a research also on what employers are looking for, what qualities they're looking for. And I just gave the example of product managers, but whatever the position you're looking at, look at different job descriptions, even those that you don't mean to apply, but just kind of to understand the mindset of hiring managers and see, okay, what do I have? What kind of qualifications do I have that meet what employers need and want? Because the more you have to offer, the more they're going to want you, and your value is going to be higher as an employee. The second point I wanted to make is about assessing your skills. What kind of skills you have, what kind of strengths you have beyond like the job descriptions. You may be a super connector, right? A person that connects people. And maybe you have done things like that in the past. Like you said, Preet, you created communities. You're passionate about different things. Those things, even though they are not related directly to a position, those are really valuable skills, especially communication, right? It's always valuable, especially in the world we are at, that people work hybrid or remote. So think about all those skills. And if you're not sure, ask people around you, people who know you, what are your strengths, what you're really good at, what they think, what kind of values do you have? Beyond just the list of qualifications for a position. Also, think about past accomplishments. This is, by the way, also a good tip for your LinkedIn profile and resume. Think about what have you done in the past that you're mostly proud of, and list it to yourself. It helps you with confidence boosting. It can help you with your LinkedIn and resume, but it can also help you with your interview process, because the more you know your worth, the better you are to sell yourself, because you're going to list not just, oh, I'm meeting that qualification because I have X amount of experience in product management, but I also did those things. I created roadmaps. I don't know, I invented a new market sector, whatever may be your case, and that you feel like you did the job in a way that no one else probably would have. You made something extraordinary, or even something good that you're proud of. List it out. It helps you, first of all, build the confidence, because negotiations is a lot about confidence, right? About believing in ourselves, in our ability, in our worth. So it's really important to work on that mindset, that you come to the negotiations strong, that you come to the negotiations really confident and knowing how much you're worth. As I mentioned, get feedback from others. It can be even from people who worked with you in the past, who work with you currently, who you value their opinion. And another thing that I recommend is creating a sales pitch or an elevator pitch, like pitching yourself. And why is that? First of all, it's always good, right? It's always good to pitch yourself when you're networking, or even when you're interviewing. Every time you interview, usually the interviewer asks you, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. So that's where you want to pitch yourself, not in a salesy way, but really kind of showcase your capabilities. What are the things that I want this person to remember about me? It is also important because it helps you again with your confidence, and it helps you realize, okay, I'm that good that I'm really worth it. I'm worth it, and they should probably pay me more because of that. And practice all of that, right? I mean, a lot of times we feel uncomfortable talking about money, asking for money. just practice. And you know what I tell usually, Preet, what I tell usually people who are interviewing, which is the whole interview process is really hard, really hard. I know that
Yes,
I've
I
been there.
agree.
It's really hurting our confidence, especially, if we get rejections, and everyone gets rejections. Like no one is perfect. I got rejections. It's really tolling. But I actually recommend to practice on jobs that you're not that interested at. Interview, ask for even negotiate, because it helps build that muscle. Talking about money comfortably, freely, without feeling uncomfortable. When I felt comfortable talking about it, I was always amazed that I got what I asked for, or even more.
Yes, I love this, Limor. To be honest, this list, I can totally confirm that is exactly as you shared. Because I think it's a cultural thing as well. It has to do with our gender identity. It has to do with our identity, how we relate to talking about our accomplishments, how we relate to talking about the value of our work, and for sure how we feel about discussing money. I think it has many layers. There's many nuances to it, but I feel that this steps or this path that you propose, it's a very good way, taking it at your own pace and being very patient and very, considerate of yourself and your own process. I think that if you give the time to each of these steps to explore them and to really get into them, you will have great results, because I've been through it as well. Sometimes it was intuitive and I just, my product management mind was already there and it took me from one step to the other. But I had great mentors such as Limor as well, that gave me these cues on, hey, Preet, you should try this out. Go ahead, see what happens if you know more about the role, if you know more about your skills and such. So for sure, Limor, these are great pointers, and I think it's a great guide to get yourself started.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me know, Preet, if anyone comments in the live stream. And let's move to next thing is about negotiations, right? I mean, and when people think about negotiating, they always think about the salary, right? I mean, that's usually the first thing that comes in mind. But actually, salary is just one aspect. And I just listed here several things. I'm sure there are more that I haven't listed. I just listed the main things, and it's a lot of it is very US centric. So not all countries have, for example, health insurance in Israel is not part of I mean, they do have actually some part of, but it's not as important as in the US, for example. I know many people don't leave their jobs or take jobs just because of the health insurance. It's that important in the US. So obviously salary, and we talked about it earlier, right? About knowing how much you should ask for. No, you don't have, by the way, to mention numbers. You're not if someone asks you how much do you want, you don't have to tell them if you don't want to. You can tell them, well, I want to hear from you. But knowing how much you should be paid. Vacation days, it's really important, right? When I started in the US, I remember I got 10 days, 10 paid days off, which is nothing, really nothing.
Yes.
And then I could buy 5 more and then that's it. So it's really important too, right? Vacation days. Not always you can negotiate it, by the way.
For sure.
But
it depends
this,
a lot in your lifestyle as well. Maybe you're a caregiver. Maybe you have some specific health needs that require more paid days for you to be able to, to align with whatever lifestyle you have or whatever needs you have.
Yeah. For companies who give equity, stock options, or stocks or RSUs, this is another important piece which you can negotiate on, because a lot of times companies have flexibility. For example, maybe less flexibility on the salary, more flexibility on the equity, or vice versa. So you can always play with those. Bonus is another thing, right? Many companies have sign-up bonus. Many companies have like periodic, usually it's on an annual base, performance base. They cannot promise, but it depends on your performance and the company performance. So bonuses is another thing that you can talk about. And I mentioned health insurance, retirement plan. What have I forgotten, Preet? Anything else you think is important to mention here?
Well, nowadays there are many companies that are looking to enhance their benefits with, for example, budget for mental health, maybe budget for, gym and other activities that might improve the overall wellness of their employees. So there's so many. I think we're in a crucial time where work and the definition of work is definitely changing. We're post pandemic. We understood that there's so much that we can do in different ways. And as you say, and you mentioned constantly, the world is becoming smaller, and we're hyper diverse culturally usually in companies. So I think more and more we will see changes in the benefits that companies offer. But I think for now, these are the basic ones, the most important. They, as you said, they do change from country to country. But yeah, I think this is the basic package, at least, to consider.
Yes. So what I want to talk about is how to negotiate, right? First of all, you need to know what is important for you, right? We discussed about the different benefits. As you mentioned, Preet, some people are caregivers, so maybe flexibility is more important to them, right? How many days they have to go to an office, if at all, the flexibility in working hours, flexibilities in taking vacation days or sick days, or whatever. What are you willing to compromise? And I'll tell you something, I mean, the best way to negotiate is to give options, alternatives, and not just say, oh, I want $100,000 a year, right? I mean, you can say, I want this salary, and then they tell you no, blah, blah, blah. But if you can come with alternatives to say, listen, I mean, it's really important to me, but I'm willing to come. Like if they tell you no, okay, so what else you can do for me? Maybe there's a bonus you can give me, or maybe you can give me more days off, or, kind of balance between them, show flexibility, but also try to get things in a different way, because sometimes they cannot give you more than X amount of dollars per year as a salary, but you can get a sign-up bonus. Or, as I said, maybe you can get equity instead of a bigger salary. So, but you should know what is more important to you and try to kind of pull into the direction that you're interested at. Not always it will work, right? Because again, companies have their own structures and limitations, but at least know the options and offer different alternatives. That's probably the best way to negotiate. Oh, you cannot give me more money? Then what about this benefit? What about bonuses? What about equity? Try to kind of play with those. And counter offer is very acceptable. So don't be afraid, right? Many people, they ask for something and then they're told no. And they say, okay, no, it's okay. You can counter. You can tell them, okay, what else you can do for me? I mean, there's a little bit of gap. And I know nowadays it's not so much, the power is not so much within the job seekers, but still, I mean, I'm sure that companies can be, flexible for people that they want to hire.
For sure. And, I had a mentoring session with Limor last week, and we were discussing actually a possibility, a job offer I'm exploring at the current time. And Limor, I think what you said is where the power really lies. You said, hey, Preet, the most important thing is that you know what you want, So I think maybe that's where a great part of the confidence to negotiate comes from. Being very clear on what is it that you need, what is your lifestyle, what is it that it will give you the most peace, comfort, that you will feel the best. And that is your filter, right? That is from where you need to negotiate, and that will give you the power to say, this is what I'm looking for. If you cannot give me what I'm looking for, then I know what my needs are and I know how far I can go. And maybe we're not a good match, and that's fine. That's perfect, right? But you will feel that you are caring for your needs and that you're caring for your own path, and that you have the power to make your own decisions because you have clarity on what is it that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
Limor,
yes.
I'm sorry. By the way, there are 11 people listening to us, which is great. So happy to have you all here sharing this conversation. I shared in the chat this resource, this website, where there's live data that's being updated and analyzed and visualized all the time.
Let me see if I can share that.
Yes, about actually, it's in the comments. So if any of you would like to know how the tech salaries are behaving in real time, you can go here in the chat and you can
you
click
put
on
it
the website.
in the chat on LinkedIn.
It's in the chat. And if you all have any questions, please go ahead and ask them on the chat. I'm looking at it and I will ask Limor for you if you have any specific questions that you would like to ask Limor. This is the right time to do so.
Yeah. Do you want to put it in the Zoom chat so I can just, as we wait for questions, I'll just share my screen?
Of course, it's super interesting. It's a very interesting project. The power of data and what can be done with good data visual analysis and visualization. And well, I myself, maybe while someone else wants to ask a question in the chat, or, we can go through this, which is super interesting. So it's how much are tech companies actually paying for talent, right? I imagine this data is scrapped from the web. So it comes from all these different sources that Limor shared before. And what these people are doing is that they're analyzing this data and they're telling us in real time what is being paid for different roles, the main roles in the industry, from what are the main companies in the industry paying actually, and I think it's super valuable and it's very interesting. You can play around with it. You can play around with the charts, with the data, and you can compare, like, how much money can I make if I'm a product manager, and if I pursue that path, how much money could I make if I pursue the engineering path, right? So it's really cool. It's really interesting.
That's great. I mean,
so, Leah, she says, or I don't know your pronouns, Leah, but this is great, very helpful. It's a very, very cool
thank
project.
you so much for sharing. It looks very, very helpful.
Yes, this was launched by Roger Lee. He has another project that is very interesting that's called Layoffs FYI, that you can see how the industry is behaving. I'm going to share it with you, Limor, as well. Layoffs.fyi. And this is another really cool data tool that tells us how the industry is behaving with this very interesting economic scenario that we're facing at the current time. So this is another tool that could help you understand what's going on with the industry and just have another perspective on it. So anyways, if you have any questions, remember this is the right time. I do have some questions for Limor that I prepared. So that we have about 5 more minutes for this, so before we wrap up. So Limor, a question I have: what would you say a formal job offer should include? What information should the company provide for a person that is receiving a formal offer?
Yeah, so obviously it depends on the country and the local laws. So typically it includes the compensation. So, right, I mean, sometimes I don't remember, because it's a while since I signed the last job offer. Sometimes it includes, how many hours per week, and if there are any extra additional hours, what's the base salary, information about equity, information about vacation days, about health benefits. So basically all the things that we discussed typically are covered in a job offer, or in some additional documentation that is usually supplied. So for example, you may receive a job offer and then supplement documents describing the benefits, the other benefits that the company provide. You may not need to sign on everything, but at least you can look at everything so you can consider if you want to work in that place or not. A lot of times the offer also includes some, this is more about the contract, some non-compete and different, terms that the company has.
Sure. Yes, for sure. I would say, as Limor says, it's super important that everything it's through writing, that you have those documents, that you have this information, which is very clear and it's very concrete on all those very important points that Limor already went through, and that you have the power over it, right? So this is what we discussed. This is what I signed up for, and here's in writing, and you can always go back to it whenever you need it, if you need to have any conversations with your employer. So that's great, Limor. I have another question. Let me see if there's any questions in the audience. For now, seems like there's not. So we can continue at least with one or two questions, more questions from me. So what I think you already covered this, actually. I was wondering, what should I do if I'm being offered a lower salary and or benefits that I want? You already covered it, but maybe you can just in a summary go through it again, about the counter offer.
Sure. So let's say I asked for I don't know, 100K and they offered me 90. So first of all, I mean, it really depends how critical it is for you. Also, another thing that I didn't mention that is also super, super important is to understand what is the potential for you in that company. It could be, for example, maybe they are starting you off at a certain level, a certain role, that they cannot pay you more than a certain amount because they have salary bounds, right, for each role. But, they say, okay, if you are performing well, we will promote you within, obviously they cannot promise that, but sometimes it is part of your decision to say, okay, I may be paid a little bit less right now, but I have really the potential to grow and get a salary increase later. And as I mentioned before, I mean, you can try to negotiate other terms like equity or bonuses or days off. By the way, in the first company in the US, I tried to actually negotiate the days off. That was the one thing that bothered me the most. And the only thing that I could get out of that negotiation was a promise by the hiring manager that if I need to go below, so I got 10, I could have paid for 5 more, and that was the top. He said, I promise you, if you need to take more than 15, you can. And when you leave the company, you have to pay us back. And eventually that's what happened. I used more than the 15, and I had to work extra week or two at the end of my employment to kind of pay back the remaining vacation days. So it was so important to me. So I negotiated, and he was creative enough, to offer that to me.
Flexible enough, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. So definitely there's so much space to negotiate. But again, we go back to the same great advice from Limor. Know what is more important for you. Really do, for example, Limor suggested, hey, Preet, you should do a list of pros and cons of what is it that really aligns with you about this offer and what really does not align with you about this offer. And if it's non-compromisable, what it doesn't align, then it's not a good opportunity for you. It doesn't align with your goals, maybe. It doesn't align with the flexibility you're seeking for. So anyways, we reaffirm that that's the most important thing. So what you do when you have an offer that's below what you're expecting, you really need to align with your needs and with what is more important for you. So this last question, well, it's more about, it's in the same line. So what should I consider in order to decide to accept or refuse the offer? But I think we already talked a lot about it. Maybe
so let's talk about other things, right? I mean, what
Sure.
should I consider? Other than all the things we talked about and all the benefits, you should consider what are your values, what are the things that are most important for you at a job, and how much that company aligns with your values. For example, for me, very, very important, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, making sure that I work with companies who care about the people, who helps people progress in their careers, who invest the time, energy, and resources in people career progression, and also makes everyone feel they belong, they care about having people from different backgrounds, from different countries, you know, from gender, whatever. So this is just an example. Think about what is important for you and how much that company aligns. And many companies today, they have a value, you know, statement or their core values. They mention it even on their website, right? I mean, or you can read on Glassdoor or other website about the company, so you can figure out if you can relate to that company, how much potential you have to grow, not just from money perspective, but professional growth. Those are all aspects that are very, very important, sometimes more than the salary.
Yes, and please follow Limor for more of this kind of conversations, because she's always posting very valuable content. I just read a post she shared about how really money not necessarily will make you feel that you are in the right path in your professional life. It is a factor. It is important for sure. And we're all seeking to have economic stability. But I agree that it's not the only thing to consider, right? So I think this was a super great conversation. We're running out of time, but we are so glad to be sharing these tools with you again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I don't know, Limor, if you would like to add something else before
No,
we...
thank you so much, Brit. As always, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll do more of those. And thank you everyone for listening in to us. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Have a great week. Bye.
Yeah, bye.